Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today we are taking a look at Center Rock Remake. This is a map that we don't cover very often, and it's kind of a shame. This is a really interesting one. It's got these cool little ramps that head up and around in the middle of the map, the Center Rock, if you will. Cool little high grounds here that allow you to rain down artillery all over the place, which is a lot of fun. Let's get some music up in here, Ryan Krause. Get that banger soundtrack rocking. We also have these little hills over here. Again, very defensible. You could put artillery up there. You could put gauntlets, agitators, that sort of thing up on these hills, and it would be very tricky to deal with. And overall, I think it's a really interesting map. Also, some mechs in the water here. Commander is probably the most viable option, but you could also go for those amphibious vehicle constructors as well. I suppose you could go for a naval lab if you wanted, although that would be quite insane. Today, spawning in our southeastern corner, representing the blue team, it's gonna be Chmod. Is it? Yeah, CHMod 777 or Chmod 777. I'm not sure. We'll call you Chmod, maybe it's Chmod. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying something that I probably shouldn't. Anyway, our blue hero today dressed up in Armada liveries and is going to be representing the blue team here. Also spawning on the blue team, I guess we can introduce everybody since this is only a 3 versus 3. A bit out of my league. I don't know if we've covered a 3v3 yet on this channel, but I do love to see it. I think less players means more action per player, right? The amount of things that each player has to manage grows exponentially, so it does make for some interesting stuff. Spawning just north of Chmod 777 is going to be Dim Toast, and to Dim Toast's eastern side is going to be Leyline Leela, the player who actually submitted this replay. Thanks a ton for sending it in. By the way, if you'd love to send a replay in, you can always do that at brightworksreplays@gmail.com. And if you have a replay that you've submitted in the past, feel free to resubmit it. I've mentioned in the past couple of videos that I accidentally cleared a bunch of them, so feel free to send that on in and I will try to get a look at it. You can also join our Discord, which I will have a link to down in the description of this video, and while you're looking at that, consider subscribing. Love to have you here as part of the Brightworks community. We've got a great little group of people here we all love beyond all reason, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you're looking to learn the game. This is probably one of the more friendly communities to do it in. Less competitive. Not that some of the other content creators aren't great, but we definitely put an emphasis on learning first. I've been rambling about myself for too long. Why don't we meet our red team leader? It's Haka. Reminds me of the Haka from StarCraft 2, but this is just Haka. DME Haka. It's Dme Haka. Haka's cousin or something. A different egg. They spawned in the same egg, but they're brothers. Anyways, Haka here, dressed up in Armada fashion as well, but is our red team leader. Is our red team leader. Slipping into my Australian accent. I was getting comfortable doing that in the other game there. Haka is going to be taking the southern side of the... Is it raining? Do we have dynamic weather patterns? What on earth? Hold on. Whoa. We've got rain, ladies and gentlemen. We've got rain. There's a risk of rain. Name drop. Spawning above Haka is going to be Him Sir, dressed up in orange color, is going to be a Cortex commander, getting those grunts out on the field. I love this dynamic weather patterning. It's going to be hell on the visuals of this, just because of this the aliasing on these these particles. But you know, it's worth it for the visuals, I think. And spawning on the far northern section for the red team is going to be Flame Warrior. Sounds like someone you would fight in a TTRPG. We have a Cortex commander up north in yellow, so going to be getting those grunts out on the field as well. Largely appears to be a very Armada versus Cortex matchup. Yeah, 2 Armada for the blue, with 1 Cortex versus 2 Cortex for the red, and 1 Armada. So it's kind of an interesting mirror matchup in a sense, or it's a reflected matchup, I should say. We're gonna get to see the power of the Cortex versus the elegance of the Armada. And hopefully some interesting stuff goes down. I like that we have aggression all over the map. I've missed who got the units out and about first, but on these 3v3s, I expect everyone to be contributing pretty equally on that scale. I will say Himsur has done a great job of locking off the center of the map for Dim Toast here. I love the positioning of these grunts, although I think I would love it a little more if we actually positioned them up on this hill. Rocketeer is going to be marching to the front line for Dim Toast, and once that gets within range, we can start shelling away at these grunts here, whittling them down 1 rocket volley at a time. Boom goes the grunt. leaving behind not a trace that it ever existed in the first place. Grunts, of course, are very cheap, very disposable, and easy to kill for what it's worth, but if you can get some value out of them, or I should say it's very easy to get some value out of them. They're one of the units that can, you know, no matter what they kill, they will do a lot of damage. They'll be cost-effective trades. Flame Warrior, almost an Elite Warrior. Flame Warrior here, barricading off this little ramp, this section up into the northern parts of the red team's main centers with a couple of units, although I think I would like to see these guys moved out this way and then trying to hold on this line. I think that might work a little better. It also grants you these extra metal extractors. That'd be a grand total of 8 extra metal, 2, 4, 6, 8. Ooh, I did some math while recording a video. It's dangerous, but I think the play went all right. Haka is doing a great job of moving out here. Actually going for a forward vehicle bay. Interesting. This is a meta that is a little older, but definitely still valid. You go for that forward vehicle bay so you can get some artillery slowly pumping out on the front lines, and you just support it with a whole bunch of light infantry on the front. So grunts, pawns, ticks, whatever you need, basically just to give the vision for those artillery units. Some pawns also securing this lower section. You can see that there are 2 different types of metal extractors on this map. There are 3.1s and 2.0s. Obviously, the 3.1s are going to be a little more valuable to contest, but they're going to be in trickier spots. And I think this is definitely one of the areas that we want to see a lot of pressure applied here. That's a grand total of 6.2 metal per second flowing back into your economy for 2 metal extractors right next to each other. This is definitely an important control zone. Tons of pawns are running forward. They're going to try and snag a couple kills here. They do get a constructor, and that is a very nice pick. Those constructors going down, it just sort of shuts down your entire push. Oh, that blitz got trapped. Merging into the constructor. Becoming one with the machine. I've never seen that before, but yeah, that blitz is well and truly stuck. Haka is taking a look at that, trying to figure out how to solve that problem. I don't know if there's a great solution here. Pawns are being rallied all over the place, being sure to split them up. It's going to make it a nightmare to go track all those down and clean them up. There are maces out, so those do pretty well against the pawns, but they're very slow, and on these hills especially, they're going to have a hard time catching up with the pawns who are now ravaging the backlines, and we're getting into that territory where this is becoming worthwhile here. Dimto's pumping out way more Rocketeers on the front line. We've actually transitioned into a completely Rocketeer-based army. Dangerous because if there's enough grunt volume, they can jump on top of the Rocketeers, but if those Rocketeers hit critical mass, they will dismantle your grunts before you can bat an eye. Another constructor going down, and this is really starting to hurt. Great plays here by Haka, moving through the southern side and making sure to deny all of this eco here for Chmod 777. Chmod switched into the mace production a little early, I think. I think bulking up this army, making it a little tougher, is the reason why it's so easy for these grunts to outmaneuver all of them. On maps like this, and especially on 3v3s, it's very, very important to have that sort of flexibility, that maneuverability. Whoa, massive bombing run here by Layleen. I missed the follow-up. There were scouts included, so that is quite nice to see. Tons of windmills go down right there. Looks like they were grouped up and chain reacted off of each other. That's most of the energy infrastructure for Flame Warrior going down, but these bombers aren't done. They head into the back line. They're going to target down a big row of wind turbines in the back here. Looks like they will be shot down because they were clumped up, but they've definitely done their damage, even taking down a few windmills with their deaths. Only in death does service end. Or is it not even in death does service end? I forget the motto. Warhammer 40k fans will be in the chats to let you know the appropriate translation for that. You know, it's interesting. The Guardsmen play a lot like Zerg, and so in many ways the Guardsmen and the Tyranids are like almost the same. If that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making stuff up, but in my mind they sort of feel the same, right? Volume of fire, baby. Volume of fire. Rockets flying out of these Rocketeers towards the thugs. Oh, it hurts so bad. They can dip into combat, as you can see here, and then fade away. Himster is trying to get a nice little D-gun. Takes a couple of them down. It's going to cost him a little bit of health. That bright orange plating is going to be scratched up. But luckily, a cloaking field will hide all that damage. A lot of these Rocketeers are looking pretty scuffed up. I wouldn't mind pulling some of these red HP Rocketeers back and just repairing them on the back line. Getting a couple of resbots is crucial to running any army that's based on Rocketeers, Aggravators, Maces, or Thugs for Armada or Cortex. Shurikens are out now, and I really like that too. I didn't even realize the tech transition here to go into the air before those bombers came out. Oh, but this is a lot of damage. Tons of grunts moving forward here. Every one of these metal extractors they kill, not only is that 50 metal down the drain, but it's also the time that the metal extractor isn't pulling resources out of the Earth's core. Well, I guess this isn't the Earth, or maybe it is. Maybe this is a desolate, long-lost Earth. You know what this scene reminds me of? It reminds me of the prison in The Last Airbender. Avatar. It reminds me of the prison on the lava island where it would be like right here in the center. I know I'm kind of rambling off on a side tangent here, but you know, this is my show. You'll have to bear with it. Grunts here were paralyzed in large part by the shuriken, but we don't have the force to deal with them. There are some grunts eventually going to move around over here, but slowly these shuriken are going to die to the laser beams from these grunts. Shuriken are like a band-aid, right? It's like slapping a band-aid on a massive wound. It'll, you know, it'll help. It'll pull the skin together, but will it be enough to actually fix the issue? Usually not. Usually it's usually you need something else auxiliary in order to solve it. The reason there's so few units is because we went for that tech transition and now caught in a tricky situation where these shurikens are the last line of defense that we have. Luckily, these grunts can get a phenomenal trade against these, well, grunts versus grunts. The green grunts can get a phenomenal trade against the yellow grunts, just so long as they are, you know, just paralyzed to death here. Need to see these grunts continuing to move forward. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of shuriken brought over as well, even picking up a grunt. Yep, eat up some of those grunts as well. You can always dismantle them with the build power here. The grunt running away from the transports. Eventually, I think this is going to be cleaned up, but there's another wave preparing to attack. But the all that ground was lost because, of course, Layla did go for that tech transition. I think that's going to benefit her phenomenally. Getting those fiends out on the field, they just trade so much more efficiently here, and there we go. We can see the shuriken now finally paralyzing these grunts and giving the transports the opportunity to lift up some of those gold star generals. So this is really nice. This is a huge economic lead for Haka, who you can see is now up to 41 metal per second. Tremendous. We could definitely go into T2 if we wanted, but also bringing out T1 units is never going to be the wrong answer here. Well, I guess eventually it'll be the wrong answer, but for now it's still a valid answer. Maces do pretty well against blitzes in a fair fight. Blitzes are not meant to take fair fights, though. Obviously, they want to run on by. Jamad puts his commander out in front, but I do think that is going to be the end of that commander's heroic story. Goes down in a blast. Ooh, and takes out tons of the army here for our blue hero. That hurts real bad. Yeah, losing that commander right next to the army was really, really bad for the health of the units in the blue color here. And now, despite having the T2 lab and the hounds rolling on out, those tanks are gonna look dangerous. They could definitely push forward and get some damage done on any of these metal extractors over here. But it looks like Haka is gonna settle for capturing the commander wreckage and probably eating it all up. Dimtoast, yeah, Chmot says FCOM explosions. Dimtoast does intercept that grunt run by with the commander here, and so that is going to clean that up very nicely. At this point, what we need to see is Layla sending out some of her constructors to reclaim all these metal extractors. Luckily, Flame Warrior hasn't been on top of it either. Flame Warrior also failing to capture these metal extractors, We have some 3.1s up here. Very, very valuable. There's also some reclaim around the map. Are those? Bruh. I should get a screenshot of that, actually. That's pretty funny. Anyway, memes aside. Yeah, the benefit of capturing those metal extractors can't be understated. It's going to allow you to get comfortably into T2 and or just make a humongous volume of units. Blitzes are pretty dangerous, but hounds tear them apart quickly. You can see just a couple volleys, 2 or 3 volleys from a hound's tail cannon will quickly decimate a blitz army. Excuse me, blitz army. Still T1 here. Ooh, big aggression in the middle of the map. Yeah, it looks like Himsur has finally built up enough volume to march on forward, decides to sacrifice some of his units in order to claim this field, and for what it's worth, I think that's a great idea. Was that lightning just there? Is there a little lightning strike? Man, I love this dynamic weather changing here. I would love if, oh, you know what, the wind speed is super high. I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if when it's raining, the wind speed goes up to maximum, and then when it's not raining, it's just, yeah, there was lightning right there. The wind speed dies down. Is that how this works? That is so cool. I think I've received comments before about people asking about sort of dynamic weather systems and that sort of thing, and whether that will ever be implemented. There were old things like meteor showers and such that would happen in Total Annihilation. I think it was Total Annihilation. Somebody was telling me about it. That sort of thing would be really cool to see in Beyond All Reason. You have some sort of solar flare event where solar power gets boosted by 200% or something, but all I don't know, electronics shut off, or I don't know, just some sort of interesting effect. I would love more dynamic effects like that. I just think they would be really cool. Himsir is doing a great job of clearing out all of this resource in the middle of the map. Also has a Resbot greedily eating up all of the fallen metal, all of their fallen comrades, as well as the enemies that were slain upon the ground. Danger is true. There's loads of pawns right here, and they're looking to get aggressive. They cannot run up that slope, so they're going to have to take the long way around. There's a little bit of fortification here, 2 light laser turrets, as well as a bunch of grunts. But I don't think it beats this many pawns. That's 26 pawns versus a grand total of 7 grunts. Yeah, that's not really going to win it. And I think all said and done, this is enough pawns to do some damage if it isn't addressed properly. Light laser turrets are going to start blasting them down. Those pawns do tons of damage, especially when they can get that surround bonus. They can melt things down real quickly. Wouldn't have mind seeing some self-destruct micro. Very difficult to pull off, especially on those light laser towers. You know what? I discounted the fact that those towers explode when they die, and that actually did kill a whole lot of those pawns. All said and done, was that worth it? Well, it kind of cleans up this area, but it was also a tremendous metal donation. I think I would like it a whole lot more if these constructors here for Dim Toast were building metal extractors. I think Layla needs to really get on top of that now. Going for some eco in the backline, but I hate to say it, this is where the eco should be prioritized. Metal extractors will always be more efficient than going for energy-based economy. Somebody pointed out the other day the way that they thought about it. I can't remember the name, which is really bothering me, but the idea was, if you think about it in terms of the amount of metal that a advanced fusion reactor as well as 4 advanced energy converters can make, it's like 40, 50-ish metal. It's somewhere between. It's like 45, something like that, metal per second, and that's 9,000 metal for the 9,700-ish metal for the advanced fusion reactor, plus several hundred metal for the advanced energy converters. All of that goes to produce about 45 metal per second. Whereas if you get a couple of these advanced metal extractors, you're up. I mean, let's see, with 3 of these, you're already up to 25, right? For a measly cost of 1,900 metal. So you can see how, when you compare it that way, it makes a lot of sense how efficient those metal extractors really are. I thought that was a really nice way of comparing. It really made it clear in my mind how important it is to constantly be upgrading your metal extractors as quickly as you can. These T2 ones are just miles more efficient than anything else. Little bomber harassment over here from Flame Warrior, retaliating against the bombers that were out before. Is that a commando? It is a commando. Okay, Leela's sending in the commando. I do love to see it. Hopefully she can get some value out with this bad boy. They changed up the hotkey orientations. I don't think it was because of the commando, but the commando was one of the units that was affected. And so it's a little bit trickier to build the landmines with the commando, but it's definitely what you want to do. The commando has the ability to build landmines, and so what we often see is players will build landmines right next to enemy structures and then self-destruct them, and, well, one thing leads to the other, and that building is no longer around. These bombers are pretty tanky, I have to say. They're taking a lot of anti-air hits here. That bomber is drifting. Did you guys see that too? I think that bomber was drifting. It was doing a Tokyo drift maneuver. The commando has been spotted by this point, or at the very least it should have been. Yeah, there we go. Himsir is taking a look over here and notices the commando flying onto the back of the production area for the red player. And actually, if we could take out this T2 lab, that would be a lot of damage. Commandos can reclaim because they have a build power. So what you can do is blow up enemy buildings and then, well, no reason why you shouldn't reclaim them, right? Layla now controlling the commando autonomously here. Or on its own, I should say. And I like that. I think this commando could definitely do a lot of damage. It's heading into the windmill economy of the red player. There is a fusion reactor on the way, but for now, I believe that red is entirely based on wind production. So if we shut all this down, obviously that reactor is going to have a hard time getting up and running. Setting up little spy cameras wherever we can. I think I like that. Oh, so here you can see the build menu. So you have to hit C, and then you have to hit Q in order to access the landmines. They're a bit hidden now. But anyways. Commando in the back line now. Dangerous. And there you go. You can see those landmines causing devastating effect. Really dangerous stuff. What a dangerous unit. Well done by Layla, moving that commando in there. You love to see it. What a phenomenal unit, right? You hate to see one of those arrive in the back lane, but it is so satisfying when you get to be the one controlling it and you manage to pull this off. Its blaster is not to be underestimated either. You can see it actually does a really huge amount of damage. Yeah, it took down that light laser turret with very little effort, as well as the constructor. Very powerful unit, and now red is in a horrible energy shortage right now, down to 148. That is terrible. Yeah, that fusion reactor is going to take ages before it comes up, and this is actually spared blue from the onslaught of units here because these lightning tanks also cost energy to fire. So for the time being, red is going to be really short on metal right now, or energy rather. Well, short on metal as well, but very short on energy also because we're trying to resurrect up the front lines. Commando is not finished though. It is still in the back line and is still being a nuisance. Eventually it gets cleaned up, but man, so much damage back here. All of those wind turbines go up in smoke for the yellow player as well, who also did not have any fusion power. So that is, yeah, that is entirely the yellow player completely removed here. Trying to figure out where those landmines were. They all detonated. Not to worry, but they're definitely worried about those landmines. Stepping on one of those is a surefire way to lose quite a few units. Those medium mines take out a lot of the T2 units very, very quickly, especially if you can self-detonate them. A lot of people don't know that, but if you self-destruct the landmine, it does way more damage than if you just let it, you know, naturally explode, I guess. you let it explode on its own terms. Yeah, if you self-destruct it, it gets way more potential out of it. That actually is true of a lot of different units. That's a little tip of the day for you. What is Layla up to next? Going for that fusion reactor at this point, ready to step up her game, get into that fusion power. Also has a mammoth out here. I hear that something interesting is to come of this mammoth, so we'll zoom right in and focus on it. Waiting to see what's going to happen. There's a bunch of fiends out on the front line too, and the fiends are going to be lining up against Sheldon, so if they can jump on top of those Sheldon, that'll be a phenomenal trade. Bombers now trying to shut down, well, oh no, sorry, I thought they were headed towards the towards Layla's base. They're actually taking a little breather at the moment. This is nice. Chamad 777 pushing forward with the Hounds, where now the red player is helpless because there's no energy economy anymore. Desperately trying to get that fusion reactor up, but it's going to take a while. Nicely done. A Screamer here, or Mercury rather, the Armada version, is very dangerous. Shoots down those bombers with ease, and that is quite nice. Oh, I want to see it. This is the one note that was enclosed with the replay file, so I want to keep my eyes on it. There's a bunch of fiends running towards, and this is just what I said. When you get these right on top of these Sheldon, that's where their true potential lies. Oh, yep, there it is. I do the same exact thing. Self-destructing my fiends because I've accidentally selected them all together. I even replied before I saw this, and I think I made a note of that. Layla's gonna find that pretty funny, I'm sure. Either way, things are starting to collapse here as the red player's production facility has been devastated. The Hounds have made their way all the way around the map, and what was once a dominative lead over a majority of the map has now collapsed because of a very epic commando run by. Commando flyby, they sort of do the same. They do multiple things. They fly, they run, they fight, they die, they live, they walk among us. Oh, a nice little rocket right there did explode, or maybe that was a fiend. Either way, it took out a couple of those Hounds, but there's still plenty, and red is basically out of this game. Effing Commando, that's right. That Commando really turned the tide of this game. It opened up the entire bottom section so that Chamad 777 could sneak a couple of units through there, and that was all it took to sweep away the red army. Luckily, those blue units pushed just in time, because if the red had been able to rebuild an energy economy, they would have been right back in the game. They didn't lose any critical production facilities. They just lost that energy, but it goes to show how critical that is. Are there any geothermal spots in this map? Ah, there are. Okay. So orange does have geothermal power. I would have suggested maybe handing over some of these windmills when red died. It would have helped them recuperate in the game. Just a little tip for if you're facing that scenario in your own matches. Meanwhile, more fiends are being built here in the backline for Layla, who is moving them forward, trying to get a decent trade against these Sheldon. Shouldn't be too hard. The Sheldon are way too slow to keep up with the Fiend's pace, and most of the time, as long as you spread them out, we don't want to keep them clumped up like this, but as long as they're spread out, it'll be really easy to jump on top of these Sheldon, and that's tons and tons of metal that you can fold into your army. Ooh, bringing out the Shuriken again. That's also lovely. Just shuts off some of these Sheldon and makes them incapable of marching forward. Yeah, you can see large parts of this army are now devastated because of those Shuriken, and it makes it real easy for these Fiends to walk in and mop up whatever is left. Down go all of the Sheldon. Blue is still encroaching on the orange army over here. Meanwhile, lighter blue is pushing forward in the middle of the map. There are now many hounds out, many more hounds than there are medium tanks, and so they are quickly being disposed of. Yeah, those hounds only take a couple of volleys to dismantle those T1 medium tanks. Really makes them look paper thin. I want to say five or six maybe. Shuriken's still very useful. Yeah, I like that a lot. Bringing them out and putting them on the front lines where there's no anti-air. The yellow player was the air player for the red team, but right now too preoccupied with holding the northern section. Looks like Flame Warrior's commander is in a lot of trouble here. Tried to build a forward bot lab, but ended up getting jumped on by a bunch of these Fiends from Layla. She's gonna get the kill here, and that brings the red team down to just one commander remaining. Where is it? Here it is. Himser's commander is up on top of this hill, and it's actually kind of a dangerous position here. Could easily be cut off from the remainder of his forces as, yeah, these hounds march forward. Got to keep that Arbiter alive. That's a very expensive unit, and you don't want to lose it for nothing. Meanwhile, Sumos and Fiends are holding the line here for Orange in the back, but now Orange is fighting on multiple fronts at once, while Yellow is ravaged in the northern lane. Again, overextending with not enough units. I think this was a result of a lack of clarity here, going for too many things at once, too many hats to balance, and overall, I think eventually it led to the collapse. The last thing that I would love to see is maybe Leela making a couple of constructors, and then she can use them to go around and just mop up all of these metal extractors. Just put a basic metal extractor on all of them. You don't really need the advanced one. It's nice if you can build it, but just putting a regular metal extractor even, it's such a little commitment for such a huge return. Definitely worthwhile. Hounds up north still continuing to be dangerous, and the Fiends are also getting in here, but it looks like the last commander will go down to some Hounds pushing in against it on the Center Rock of Center Rock Remake. What an epic game. I love these 3v3s. So many hats for every player to wear. Very nicely done. Epic commando play in the back line, and excellent push on the southern flanks. Well done catching the commanders up north, and I just gotta say that I'm happy I was invited to watch this one. Yeah, you can look at the economies right here, and you can see right where red was destroyed here. Blue was slowly overtaking red in production. I have a feeling this was actually where red took the big hit, this little fall off right here. And you can see what happened is that red was ahead of blue and would have continued to scale exponentially. However, once red lost all that energy production, they couldn't get back into the game quick enough, and it allowed blue to get on front, or get up in front on the economic scale, and eventually snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Usually I say that the other way for the losing team, but anyways, thanks a ton for watching. Hope you enjoyed this match. This is, oh wow, that's pretty interesting. This is a really fun one. I love looking at these 3v3s. I love looking at the ones that are more unique. The 8v8s are a lot of fun, but it can be a lot on the screen all at once. This has been the Brightworks, and I will see you in the next video.